there are many things that Cosmos can rightfully be criticized for. For example, we've had a lot of infighting, founder drama, and also the fact that Atom never captured any value, neither from IBC nor from the actual fact that the appchain thesis is playing out. But on the flip side, Cosmos also got a lot of things very right that cannot be ignored. For example, the appchain thesis itself, interoperability, building out a light client-based interoperability standard and rebuilding the internet for the blockchain era, called the Internet of Blockchains. That has been the Cosmos thesis all along for many years, and it is now playing out. And I'm saying all of that because now with the new leadership in Cosmos, we actually also have some people that are now sitting at the steering wheel that are also figuring out at this point in time, how can we position Atom in a more economically sustainable way that also starts to accrue value? And we're exactly at this inflection point, right? And considering that the Cosmos Foundation still has around $300 million in assets, means there is still a lot of capital, a lot of mind share, and a lot of opportunities for Cosmos to get it right. And of course, you can now say, Yo, Cito, you are delusional, you're married to your bags, you're crazy. And you might be right about it, but also I'm always rethinking and questioning my own thesis, and I cannot come to a different conclusion than the Cosmos thesis. So yes, you can call me a delusional cosmonaut at this point because the charts are not reflecting that thesis. However, I still believe that at some point our time will come. Cosmos is the stack, Atom is the stock, and now we're seeing a new era of interoperable finance, of Web3 adoption from institutions and governments. And in fact, the new leadership is working full steam to also capture value for Atom in that context by monetizing the best product that the Cosmos ecosystem collectively developed, which is the Cosmos stack itself. And now pair that with the fact that the Interchain Foundation only holds around 3.5% of the Atom supply, which is absolutely unheard of in the competitive landscape. All other foundations hold substantially larger allocations of their own token, which means they have control. They have also more governance power if there's even an open governance framework, which also Cosmos innovated. And they dictate the roadmap, basically, right? And in Cosmos, yes, we are now very excited about this new leadership, but in fact, they do not have the power or control to just dictate the direction. And we in fact have most recently seen on-chain proof that even now, the Cosmos Foundation is not in charge of Cosmos, if you will, right? With the passing of proposal 1007, the permissionless CosmWasm framework is now enabled and live on the Cosmos Hub. You can now deploy permissionless Rust smart contracts on the Cosmos Hub with the passing of this proposal, which the Interchain Labs team, the new leadership in Cosmos, was actually against. So they were not supporting this initially. And now that it's passed, I guess they kind of see it as a mandate from the community that wants this, that has been wanting this for many, many years. And now it has passed. And no one is really talking much about it. Of course, I understand right now there are other hot topics and Cosmos is probably not on that list. And to be honest, I kind of like this underdog role that Cosmos took as an ecosystem. Also me as a creator, Cosmos as a conference, right? Sexito as a validator. We are now in the underdog position. We are now written off by many people, but I think we're going to have a major time ahead of us where a lot of the hard work in this bear market is going to come out and will shine. And we're going to see it on stage in Cosmos. We're going to see it with more momentum around the Cosmos ecosystem. I'm very convinced of that. Now, CosmWasm contracts are now live. There are still a few hiccups like IBC hooks that are not yet deployed and a lot of other things that need to be figured out around it to make this a smooth onboarding and deployment. But we're already seeing a lot of applications that want to launch on the Cosmos Hub, want to deploy the applications, want to launch their native DEX and all those kind of things. And in fact, now that the proposal has passed, Mark is also saying that, well, congrats to the Atom community that pushed for this, and the ICL is now excited to support this decision now that it has passed. And Mark also said that he will personally provide 200K in liquidity for Atom USDC for the first good DEX that is deployed on the Cosmos Hub. So if you are a CosmWasm developer, then you can now deploy your application on the Cosmos Hub. And also, I strongly encourage you to join us at Hackmons this year in Split, Croatia, because we're also going to have a Cosmos track. In fact, we're going to announce very shortly the details around the Cosmos track in Split. Now, Ethan, the co-founder of Cosmos, also came out and said, CosmWasm is deeply underrated. You can straight up just deploy Rust code. We're verifying random ZK proofs in CosmWasm because it's just Rust. literally cannot do that on any other VM. So is this going to be a major comeback of CosmWasm now that also Hadron Labs, aka Neutron, has been awarded or granted funding for maintaining CosmWasm? Neutron itself having permissionless CosmWasm deployed, and there might be some more synergies. We also have some more Neutron news in a second. But well, first off, let me know what you think about the passing of proposal 1007. CosmWasm, permissionless CosmWasm is now on the Cosmos Hub, and also the fact that the ICL roadmap is actually focused more on fintech, on government, on enterprise. They also mentioned that they're actively talking and are actually in final stages of closing deals with a large Nasdaq listed company and also governments, right? They're talking to, I think, 3 governments simultaneously. So something will come out of that. And I think we still have to give them time to cook. But in parallel, we're also seeing now a Pandora's box opened from the community. And that also in an age where regulation is advancing, stablecoins, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, all these things are passing. Atom is primed to be recognized as a commodity. If there's one coin out there that is sufficiently decentralized, in my point of view, it is Atom. Of course, Bitcoin, right? Of course, potentially also Ethereum, right? But then there has to be Atom on that list, very, very high up there. Now, I also want to briefly talk about Celestia, which has come under the rails, or how do you say that? Which really had a very tough time. Very tough time. Price went down only. The whole polychain situation where they sold off hundreds of millions of dollars. I think there was also some FUD around the team, internals, drama here, drama there, Twitter shitstorm, those kind of things. But Celestia is still here. I think is also one of the most underrated plays right now, one of the biggest underdogs in crypto, not only because they created and dominated the entire modularity category in crypto when they basically coined that term 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but also because now they're building out their native ecosystem of applications. We talked a lot about XO markets, and now we're also seeing more applications. One of them that I really want to highlight today is Vex Trade, verifiable exchange that has also potential to massively contribute in increasing the revenue for Celestia, which also has been one big criticism against Celestia, is the fact that it doesn't accrue any revenue. But Vex DEX is now live on testnet, and it already posted 20 gigabytes a day on Celestia at sub 50 milliseconds execution. And this basically shows the potentials, which means that with full blocks on Celestia, at the current rate, at the current scale, we could reach $4 million a day in revenue for Celestia. And the fee switch is not actually switched on right now. It is very, very low, basically like a spam protection. But if they were to increase the fees, this could start accruing meaningful revenue for Celestia. So that's definitely one to watch. In my opinion, I'm still bullish on Celestia and think that these tough times will pass. Many of the steps to mitigate also sell pressure by buying out Polychain, for example, have already passed. And that's one I've been buying sub $2 levels. Another one to watch that we've been talking about many years ago, including also last year at Cosmos in Dubai, I made sure and pushed really hard to get them to fly out to Dubai and be on a panel, which you can watch on our YouTube channel at Cosmos as well, is Provenance. And Provenance blockchain is now live, the hash token that is listed on CoinGecko in the top 100. And for many people, they came out of nowhere, but well, we've been knowing about them for many years. And they are also a full-on Cosmos SDK blockchain, and in fact have a $16 billion TVL. They are now the largest, by far largest tokenization platform in all of crypto. And that is due to their product underlying partner basically called Figure Markets that has $16.3 billion in active loans. And the breaking news from this week is the fact that Figure has now filed for an IPO officially. So that is very, very interesting. Billions in RWAs are already issued on chain, and it also showcases enterprise adoption, which is powered by the Cosmos stack. And we're seeing this across the board, whether you look at AI with Fetch, whether you look at Bitcoin with Babylon, there's always a market leader or a strong contender in that category that is built on Cosmos. So Provenance blockchain, the new shining star for many. We have been knowing about this for a long time. And also, again, if you are at Cosmos, those are the type of projects that you bump into, that you see on a panel, that you see in the hallway, that you see at a booth. And that's why it's so important to also be at those events. Now, I also promised that I'll share some updates on Neutron. They have now launched 2 things. Number 1, Supervaults. And you can see there's some decent yields here on the D-Atom pool, 25% APY. TAUSDC around 193, and Atom USDC 571. So decent yields. If you are still in the yield farming game, then Supervaults and Neutron definitely want to watch. And I think the Neutron team is now cooking very, very hard, and they're really doubling down on their DeFi product suite, including also, Bitcoin finance, right? Bitcoin DeFi, with also a new product that has launched called Max BTC, that we'll probably cover more in depth in another Bitcoin segment. Now, also big shout out to Flix.fun, formerly known as OmniFlix. I'm actually very proud that they have dropped the Omni in their name. I always refer to it as Flix anyways, but now it's good to see a fresh rebrand, very, very nice, very clean, very smooth. And they also announced expansion plans into other ecosystems, basically going beyond Cosmos. And they're starting with Base, I assume. They're also in talks with other ecosystems. And I think now they're kind of looking for a new home. Mainly Base is where they are focused on. So congrats, Sisla and team. In fact, I was also on a live stream when they announced it on Monday. So if you are on Twitter, then check out that live stream. Rob and I were there. And in fact, Rob and me, we met through Flix, OmniFlix back in the days. And we told the whole story on the Flix live stream. So check that out. The Media Hub built on Cosmos, but also now expanding into other ecosystems. Now, to wrap it up, quick airdrop news. Number one, we have Into. The Into airdrop, Intento, is coming. It looks like mad scientists, Celestia, Sloth, bad kids. So NFT communities, and also watch out for a stream swap event happening, which in my view is the best way to launch a token, is through Flix's stream swap. That is the best way to launch a token in 2025. I've not come across a better way. If you know one, then please let me know. But yeah, stream swap is the best in the game. Finally, also the Mitogenesis airdrop was announced by the Mitosis Foundation. You have to take quick action here, as far as I have seen in my notes preparing for this video. Shout out to Sabmos, who is doing the daily script for these type of videos. And you can now register, and you have time only until August 26th, as far as I understand. And 10% of the supply is dedicated for the Genesis airdrop. That's 100 million tokens. But you have to act fast. You have to act fast because, otherwise you're forfeiting your allocation in case you are eligible. So come here. I'll leave a link below this video. I have to also do this myself right after recording this video. Other than that, there's some minor news, like Story Protocol founder stepping down, but we already talked about this last week. We also have some more recent news, which is also that now Illis has announced that they're also going to expand to Base. They're actually entirely migrating, and they're also going to do a token swap. External markets, it surpasses 5,000 users with their prediction market. Also very, very interesting. Also going to be at Cosmos. Also Akash at Home, which enables home devices to join Akash as providers. And also Tuck Chain, which is an interesting chain. We did an interview with Marco Monaco a couple of weeks ago. Tuck is basically bridging Telegram or Ton blockchain with Cosmos as a Cosmos SDK built blockchain, but fully interoperable and compatible with the with the Ton ecosystem. So many news, many exciting things. Let me know your whole point of view about my personal thesis, and if you still have hope for Cosmos. That's it. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you very soon. Until then, stay safe.